Well, I just made a musical called The Best Little Whorehouse in Texas, and I'd be willing to bet my jacket, not yours, that it's a hit.
It's just a little bitty pissant country place, nothing much to see. No drinking allowed, we get a nice quiet crowd, plain as it can be.
I talk to the trees.
In 1969, Clint Eastwood talked to trees in the movie musical Paint Your Wagon.
And while you're listening to me.
Not exactly the greatest role of his career, Sylvester Stallone gave it a shot in the 1984 film Rhinestone and didn't exactly get rave reviews either.
But wiser, you created a monster, and they call him Frankenstein.
But unlike Clint and Sly, who gave up on this genre, Burt didn't let the poorly received At Long Last Love in 1975 sway him from jumping back into another musical to try and prove that it was still possible to win over an audience with song and dance.
Don't let your mouth open up your capabilities, and we can get along.
I think it's silly to ever say that you're never going to do this, or you're never going to do that, because you constantly change your mind, and people change your mind, things change your mind, women change your mind.
This true story of the Chicken Ranch was a very successful musical on Broadway. Plus, this would be country western legend Dolly Parton's next feature after her breakout performance in the film 9 to 5.
If you ever say another word about me or make another indecent proposal, I'm gonna get that gun of mine, and I'm gonna change you from a rooster to a hen with one shot.
Working 9 to 5, what a way to make a living.
I'd known Dolly Parton since she was a beautiful, chubby-cheeked singer working with Porter Wagner.
If teardrops were pennies and heartaches would grow.
What is it?
I think she's already a movie star without doing a movie.
In 1980, at the premiere for 9 to 5, Burt could see something special in Dolly.
I think she's Mae West that sings better and has more vulnerability.
Well, she is a big surprise already in 9 to 5. Come on, come on now. Those jokes are easy to do, but this is the gorgeous, sweet. I could stoop to that. I could do a joke about. I'm not going to do that. Her breasts have their own zip code.
The title of the film, along with the overall theme, made this a very difficult choice for Dolly.
I had some reservations, because my granddad being a preacher and being brought up in a very religious area and in a religious family, and the country music fans in general being very religious people as a rule.
Hey, Deputy Fred.
Morning, girls.
How's your tallywhacker hanging?
Fine.
It's not as dirty as it sounds.
Well, there's naked massages, there's tongue baths, there's somebody tickling your ass with a feather.
And I saw it as a story about life, a way to show that these people have personalities. These people have reasons for being what they are.
Ultimately, Dolly decided to take on the challenging role of Miss Mona.
Howdy, boys.
Burt was to make $3.5 million for his role, in addition to receiving a percentage of the film's gross. Not a bad deal.
Everything is going to turn out slicker than cat shit on a linoleum floor.
Not so fast, Burt. You see, the studio wasn't quite sure that a film like this could afford huge stars like Burt and Dolly on their budget, so they got together to discuss other options.
What kind of money are we talking about here?
Together, Burt and Dolly will cost us $5 million.
For a fucking musical? No, nobody wants to see that shit. Can't we get somebody cheaper? How about Penny Marshall and Peter Falk? I bet they'd do it for less.
But they can't sing or dance, sir.
Well, who else we got?
We have Willie Nelson and Crystal Gayle ready to go, and for much less, sir.
Ah, shit. That might be all right, but Willie doesn't exactly light up the screen, like Burt. He kind of looks like uncooked bacon with long hair. We're going to need star power on this picture, or it's going to be a disaster. Let's go with Boobs and the Bandit. That'll sell tickets. Make it happen.
Yes, sir.
Brilliant.
Did you remember to bring my check?
Okay, go ahead, boy. Like to kick his ass just once.
Good. It's always a business doing pleasure with you, Charlie.
Once the filming began, folks familiar with the original script had concerns about rumors of substantial changes.
Well, there was changes made, but I don't think any more than any normal script. I think everybody panicked that was connected to it originally because they aren't used to making movies, but it wasn't any different than any picture I've ever been on, really.
But we can't just sit around here waiting to grow tits.
It was said that Dolly insisted on a romance between her and Burt, saying, Wouldn't you feel like you've wasted $5 if you paid to see Whorehouse and didn't see me and Burt kiss?
Well, I wonder who that is.
She went on to say that this was just a joke, but didn't want to miss out on her chance to kiss Burt Reynolds.
Songs in this movie are more me, more of what I have been trying to do, all the routes I've had to take to try to get to a place to where country flavor of my music would be accepted by a broad audience. So I think that I have really accomplished a great deal of things with this movie.
When the film was released, some were shocked to see that Dolly had written some new songs to this already established musical, although only 2 of them made it to the soundtrack album.
We sang one song together in the picture.
Burt and Dolly singing together. That's gotta be good, no? Let's give it a quick listen, shall we? It's called a record album. It's how we listen to music like 50 years ago. It spins around and you drop the needle on the little bastard like this.
Around with you, sneaking around with you, going around up to doing what lovers do whenever they're sneaking around.
One of the parts I liked about the movie, no kidding, was when we got to sing together. When we got to go in the studio before we went into film and to record a song, Sneaking Around, which is one of the songs that I wrote. And it was fun sneaking around with you, and it was fun singing about it. And, but anyhow.
The hardest person to sneak around with, I ever know.
You know, even though he had recorded an album of his own, this masterpiece here, Ask Me What I Am, Burt put in some extra time to improve his vocal performance.
Well, I like beer and rodeos.
I worked for about 3 months just so I'd be in pitch. You know, I didn't want to be, I didn't know whether I was going to be good, but I wanted to be in pitch.
While Burt does a fine job singing with Dolly, his big solo performance, Where Stallions Run, was the one he really wanted to shine on, as it was written for him by Dolly.
I told her to be really brutally honest with me, you know. I couldn't cut it, and I knew she would be anyway.
Be the hero right now, save the day.
Unfortunately for Burt, this performance was ultimately cut from the movie and also from the soundtrack. The most famous song to come out of the film was actually the second of 2 written by Dolly Parton, the closing number, I Will Always Love You.
We'll always love you.
Years later, the late, great Whitney Houston would turn the song into perhaps her biggest hit for the soundtrack of her film debut, The Bodyguard.
Everybody liked Ed Earl, especially Ed Earl.
My father was a Southern sheriff, and I see a lot of Ed Earl in my dad.
I got a little influence around this state myself.
I think he's really a good man. I think he's a man with a lot of principles.
She was just fine as long as she was bringing in the money and making civic contributions.
He just has a real hard time living with the fact that he is in love with a woman that runs a house of ill repute.
I could close this place down in a New York minute.
And so he can't bring himself to marry her, even though he does really love her.
I love you.
Sort of what the picture's all about, really.
As expected, there were constant rumors during the filming that Burt and Dolly were having an affair.
Back when we were doing the movie together, they had us in the tabloids, Dolly and Burt, hot romance and all that. And
one particular night, we were going to La Cage aux Folles, and Charles Durning and his wife, Mary Ann, Charles Nelson Riley and I, and we get out of the car and start heading into the restaurant, and there's the paparazzis everywhere flashing pictures. And the very next day on the National Enquirer, it was Burt Reynolds and Dolly Parton, their private little outing out on the town. And I said, well, yeah, with the 4 of us back there, just going right in with them, sitting at the same table.
The tabloids they're amazing. People come up to you with these awful stories and go, would you sign this?
do you mean you want me to sign this right over the silicone leaf?
After years of action films, doing his own stunts and suffering multiple breaks and bruises, Burt didn't expect to deal with any of that on this shoot.
You've lost a whole person since then.
Well, I certainly have, and you must be happier than anybody.
Oh, I am.
But unfortunately, he didn't escape this picture without serious injury.
Oh, shit!
Bert, oh, I'm sorry, did I scare you? Listen, I know we have the scene tomorrow where you have lifted me up. I just wanted to warn you, these are not the lightest. They're kind of like cement blocks. Just be careful, is all.
You know me better than that.
Once you hurt yourself, I will always love you.
Remember when you picked me up at the closing scene of that off the porch? Next thing I knew, I saw in the headlines, Burt Reynolds hospitalized for double hernia operation. And that's no joke.
It's true.
It's the
true.
truth.
You know, every time I have a little pain, I think of you.
Oh, do you?
The film showcased vintage Burt at his best, and we get to see all his different personas.
Makes me feel real sexy.
We get sexy Burt, pissed off, bad-tempered Burt,
I'm gonna knock you so flat you're gonna have to roll down your socks to shit.
sad, moody, and mean Burt.
It's a hell of a lot better than being a whore.
But for the most part, his natural charm is on full display here.
Texas has a whorehouse in it.
As always, the hilarious Dom DeLuise is brilliant as reporter Melvin P. Thorpe, who wants to shut down the chicken ranch.
The public has a right to know what is going on out there at notorious house of ill repute.
He was just wonderful in the film.
You're talking a full nut.
Why wear clothes? But everybody else is nude.
Take a picture! Melvin is a man who is possessed. Anything that's phony or dishonest can't stand the light of day. Sock. Thank you. Yeah. He really is a good man inside. He really believes that he's doing what is right. We're about to enter the whorehouse itself. In this movie, you see that the people who happen to be involved in the chicken ranch have hearts.
The girls begin accepting poultry in trade. One bird, one lay. And that's how the place got its name, the Chicken Ranch.
Burt's longtime friend Jim Neighbors shines as Deputy Fred in this, their first time working together.
Right out in front of
Your office.
Son of a
Bitch.
Like Burt, Jim was also the son of a policeman, both making their fathers proud.
This Japanese slingshot.
Aren't you Charles Durning from the movies?
No, I'm Melvin P. Thorpe from your movie.
Sorry.
With all the great talent in this film, the biggest surprise was the great Charles Durning, who absolutely steals the movie despite less than 10 minutes of screen time.
Ooh, I love to sweep around the wide step.
Director Colin Higgins had wanted Mickey Rooney for the role, but Burt lobbied to get his friend Durning to get that part.
So it follows that I cannot tell a lie.
Charles Durning, who, the son of a gun, came in and did work 15 minutes and he'll probably get a nomination.
No. Hi, Sheriff.
Clearly, Burt was spot on as his old friend walked off with an Oscar nomination for Best Supporting Actor.
Show's over, Sheriff. Close it down.
A tremendous honor for the actor who had made the most of his limited screen time.
The way I look at it is it's a movie that I'd like to go and see, and a lot of people that I know would like to see it, so I'm just operating from that premise.
This was the third and final film directed by Colin Higgins, who Dolly had also worked with on 9 to 5. Higgins died of an AIDS-related illness in 1988 at the age of 47.
Introduce a film clip with Miss Parton where she sings a great song called I Will Always Love You, and she dedicates that to everybody in Texas.
The studio arranged a huge premiere in Austin, Texas, with all the stars turning out to promote the film.
I cannot get away from the man. Everywhere I go and pick up my guitar, they say, "Where's Burt?" I say, "I left him with Fred." Okay.
They even turned the premiere into an hour-long television special called The Best Little Special in Texas.
First of all, I'd like to tell the men to take your ties off if you want to. Ladies can take off anything they want. There's somebody trying right there.
From the looks of the premiere, it turned out real well, and I was so relieved.
I rode over here with Dolly, and I was complimenting her, and she was complimenting me. Then I just shut up for an hour.
When award season came, Dolly was nominated for a Golden Globe.
But I thought you made a great sheriff, and I make a better whore than I did a secretary.
But Burt was once again ignored, something he was getting used to.
And then I did a film called Best Little Whorehouse in Texas.
Right.
And I had a great time on that, and it made a lot of money, but the critics didn't like it.
Yeah.
Burt, wake up. This ain't good.
You better turn on Channel 4.
The fat fart and that skinny putz are at it again, trashing your performance.
Well, I don't give a shit, Rufus.
I mean, that fat son of a bitch ought to
God.
eat more popcorn and stop worrying about all
Honey.
your movies and stuff.
Honey,
It's not
put
like
on
you've never made a good movie.
the television there, Channel 4.
Jesus.
Calm down, Rufus. Can't be as bad as all that.
It's time
for a Siskel and Ebert Burt Reynolds shitty film review.
How can you screw up a movie version of a decent Broadway musical? The songs aren't particularly memorable, the foul language, some embarrassing barnyard humor.
So you take a lot of young boys and they're going to be out there looking for women. If they can't find them, they'll rape them.
I don't know what happened. I don't know why they didn't give more scenes of the two of them in the bedroom. Well,
That man has made a fool out of you.
I wanted to see him, suck face in this movie. That would have.
I think you mean kiss, right?
Those that can't teach and those that can't do either review. That's what I feel, and I'll pay for that.
And that's the end of this Siskel and Ebert Burt Reynolds shitty film review.
Well, I always just thought if you see somebody without a smile, give them yours.
I like that. I'm not uptight about this film at all. I know this film will be a hit.
The Best Little Whorehouse in Texas opened at #1 at the box office.
How you doing?
We did have an awful good time on that picture.
Oh, we had a great time.
Also, the picture made $100 million.
I know it. I never got my part.
For the time, this was the highest weekend box office opening for an R-rated movie, a record broken 2 years later by Beverly Hills Cop.
How you doing?
This was also the most successful theatrical musical of the 1980s and the last Burt Reynolds movie to appear in the top 10 for the year's highest grossing films.
So long, partner.
So we didn't get the usual end credit outtakes on this film, perhaps because that was a Hal Needham tradition. But the fine folks here at the Burt Reynolds Story production department decided to recut the end credits and present it in the way we would have preferred.
I like your mustache, though.
Thank you.
Yeah, I like to kiss you. I don't mind walking through a briar patch to get to some good berries.
Yeah. Oh, the berries have been gone a long time.
Is this kind of foul-mouthed example we want to set for our innocent, young, fucked up kids?
My wife couldn't believe what she saw last night. They bleeped him out, but she read every goddamn fuck.
Melvin, I'm sorry. Enough of this pussy. Oh, you fuck. Enough of this pussyfoot. I'm sorry.
And this time, I'm talking damages.
Well, fuck, so am I. Thank you all for coming. The reason...
When you kiss me or I kiss you, all this shit in my eyes gets all in your face.
I cannot work. If you're going to break up, I can't work.
Let's just hope some of me rubs off and you'll be fair-skinned in this picture.
I might be big-breasted, too.
We broke a 30 share.
There's not a finer woman in the world. One time she gave rubbers to all the boys.
Gotta fix this fucking thing, come on!
Goody. Ready? Yeah. Okay. This is for my toe and your leg. Okay. Y'all come back now. You hear?
Watch for new movie reviews and documentary series. Don't forget to subscribe and click on that bell so you know when new reviews arrive.